Here we are for the record.
In the room, Josh.
It's on. Okay, thank you. Other public comment, please. Well,
Wasn't there someone else in the room?
I'm sorry.
Wasn't there someone else in the room?
I know that Cornelia raised her hand.
Oh, yeah.
but-
Well, I would like to go last if possible.
Oh, okay. And let's also have a, I don't know, public comment than it is observation/questions. Like, that's just the way I am. So over the weekend, I was writing a data-driven justification to open a late start class, and I just got really curious about our late start offerings in general. It made me think about, well, when we say late start, what do we need? So there's late start in terms of, I'm gonna open a class after census. So for those students who maybe were dropped for the class, who could not get a full-time load, they had an opportunity to make something up, and so those would be opened after 2 weeks. And then I think there were a bunch of classes then that start late, but were perhaps open for enrollment back in April at the beginning of the process. So it just was making me curious, like, why are we making those decisions? You know, I'm sure that these are dependent upon departments and need and whatnot. It just made me very curious as to what was left for a student at this point who might need a class, and I didn't see a whole lot. And so I was thinking maybe Senate would be a better place for, if you're gonna talk about scheduling, maybe talk about some of that, and why do we open up our classes that are late when we do? Because I think we all agree that late starts are important for students. And also, we in English and art, the only other department, we're specifically participating in a program run by the Chancellor's Office to offer students the opportunity to complete a course in an 8-week sequence. So next fall, we're gonna teach English 110 in the first 8 weeks, and then English 111 in the second 8 weeks. And that way students can complete in one semester. And as I was looking around, I was thinking, well, the idea is that students would maybe take 2 8 weeks in the first 8 weeks and then 1 or 2 in the second, so that they don't have a bunch of different term lengths. That might help them focus and succeed in those courses. And we're gonna need to find other departments, I think, perhaps explicitly and intentionally partner with, so students can be completing their GEs. So it's just kind of just a larger basket of scheduling. I know scheduling is just a really, really hard thing. So many shifting and moving targets. So it was really, that's what I meant. It's just more comments and observations about why do we schedule as we do? And how can we all coordinate as best as we can? I know it's a very difficult thing, even within one department, but interdepartmentally also very.
Thank you very much, Henry. We're going back to Zoom, please. We have next for public comment, we have Dr. Tomas Carrasco, please, Tomas.
How you doing? Thank you everybody for having me. My name is Dr. Tomas Avila Carrasco. I am the chair of American Ethnic Studies. And one of the reasons why I'm here in regards to teaching modalities in regards to the scheduling, American Ethnic Studies, we have one of the strongest ethnic studies departments in the nation. Our classes are very, very full. We offer full-time, online, hybrid. And so in the fall, I asked for an extra Ethnic Studies 101 and a Chicano Studies 101. And they stated that you could, if you increase your caps and have wait lists, you can. So we did. And so we were going to add them. And then our administration literally was stated that you had to do certain types of modalities. They had to be face-to-face. And so it was problematic in regards to who, because we can't teach over 25, and we wanted to pretty much have the best professors teach our courses. And so it became almost a debate on who was qualified to teach ethnic studies. So I just shut it down. I just said, stop, we don't need to add anything down due to the administration mandating modalities and telling me who is qualified to teach ethnic studies. Totally problematic. So I just stopped it. And that's my main issue here, is when you have administrators getting in the weeds in regards to modalities, it's just problematic. You know, that should not be allowed for academic excellence. And what we're doing, ethnic studies is a perfect example of having face-to-face, online, and hybrid. And we were still forced to put classes that had never been hybrid on face to face for like 5 or 6 years. So we're hoping they're going to make it. So that's my point of being here. And we need a policy. You just can't start making up whatever you want to make up. And most importantly, I want to address the data that was given out on blacks and African Americans and Latinos, which is incorrect. And simultaneously, you have racial undertones and racial overtones stating, like, how dare you state that our black and brown students can only teach in certain types of modalities, especially when our data states the opposite. And what I want to really stress, there has been a paradigm shift in teaching. There has been a paradigm shift in teaching, and this whole concept of getting everybody back to face to face is not serving our students well. And we have to think about who could afford to be face to face. And I'll leave it at that. But in regards to administrators, thinking that for them to get in the weeds of like a department's teaching modalities is very, very just neoliberal and out of line. And so that's my major points. Let's create a institutional policy so we can all follow the law. Thank you very much.
Just checking in the room, is there anyone who has a public comment to offer?
I will, thanks. Okay, so dear senators.
Wait a minute, what about me?
Oh, we are alternating Julie between.
Oh, okay.
And those. We'll come back to you, Julie, no problem.
Okay, I get those 10 seconds back, right?
Yes.
So dear senators, thank you a lot for allowing me to speak. I'm here today in my role as Faculty Association President. We just heard from some faculty members about significant issues the departments have experienced with respect to a new fixed percentage guideline for different class modalities imposed by the administration during the last several days of the spring 2026 schedule building process. The FA recognizes that the administration can in fact decide about the type and modality of classes that they wish the college to offer. However, imposing such a new percentage rule with respect to modality cannot be done without the required consultation with the academic senate, and most definitely it should not be done without clear notification of the department chairs at the beginning of their scheduled building process. The last-minute nature of this new administrative fixed percentage rule on our instructional departments only shortly before or even after schedules were already submitted places an unnecessary burden on our chairs and faculty, which the FA is objecting to. In addition to this, I want to say that the fact that the academic senate was not only not consulted on this academic and professional matter that has curriculum implications and would most definitely would have required such formal consultation under 10+1. And to be clear, it does not matter if this new guideline was applied college-wide or just to a selected number of divisions. The duty to collegial consultation with the academic senate under the law remains. However, there was no consultation. Moreover, the academic senate president, the highest faculty representative at our institution, was not even given the courtesy of being informed prior to the implementation of this new guideline. Rather, Joshua Ramirez had to learn about this new guideline from an email by a concerned chair. The disrespect of the academic senate, of faculty and faculty leadership that is communicated by this leaves me speechless. In addition to the aforementioned 10+1 EdCode concerns, these administrative actions also directly impact working conditions of faculty and our faculty chairs, and those are subject to negotiations. The FA therefore has drafted the following formal letter to demand negotiations over such impact that I would like to read to you in case you have any feedback for the FA. So here comes the current draft of what we plan to send to the district tomorrow, and apologies in advance that it will sound a bit legal. Recently, it has to come to the Faculty Association's attention that the district has implemented a new requirement that at least 50% of each department's course offering for the spring 2026 semester must be scheduled in an in-person rather than online modality. On September 13, 2025, Dean Eric Hoffman wrote to the music department chair, Nathan Kreitzer, that according to the schedule built instruction and to support student success, at least 50% of courses shall be in person, face-to-face on campus modality. He provided a similar directive to the chair of the communications department, explaining that the district had imposed a 50% departmental cap on online offerings. Other department chairs received similar emails. The district imposition of this new cap in those departments' online course offering reflects a change from the district's existing course building and scheduling practices set forth in Board Policy 7210, which contains no such 50% cap or limitation. This change in policy has negotiable impacts, most notably by 1, limiting the existing number of available remote work opportunities for faculty and the process by which those limited teaching opportunities will now be assigned. 2, the workload impact on faculty that will result from converting online courses to in-person modalities. 3, the change in the party's existing scheduling practice. 4, the increased workload for faculty chairs. And 5, whether there are any alternatives to the district's policy change that might meet the district's stated goal of improving student success. FERC has held that workload, faculty assignment, and remote work are all mandatory subjects of bargaining. Moreover, part of the impacts bargaining obligation includes allowing meaningful contemporaneous discussion of alternatives. FERC explained that discussion of alternatives to the proposed non-negotiable course of action is a critical requirement of such negotiations, and indeed, one purpose of effects bargaining is to permit the exclusive representative an opportunity to persuade the employer to consider alternatives that may diminish the impact of the decision on employees.
They built these roads as if
Even when a particular decision,
Minutes overall.
okay, sorry. Even when a particular decision does not constitute a mandatory subject of bargaining, the employer nonetheless must provide notice and an opportunity to meet and confer over any reasonable foreseeable effects the decision may have on matters within the scope of representation before taking such action. Thank you.
Thank you, Cornelia. Returning to Zoom, please, we had Julie Brown who requested an office.
Hi, I just wanted to say I watched the Senate meeting last week and I listened to Corey's presentation and what Josh said. And I am so happy with all of us that are making the zero textbook costs classes. So many students are being saved so much money, and it just shows all the wonderful things we faculty do. And Corey really needs a great shout out, and so does Karen and Rob and all of us, because we're changing our students' lives so they can have more money for rent. We're just doing wonderful things, and I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for the great Senate meeting about that last week. So bye.
Thank you, Julie. And the question about burden free access, we are continuing today as well. Doing Congress. Do we have any further public comments in the room? Do we have words of the public, please?
I'd like to address the face-to-face versus the online. There's a lot of misconceptions, in my opinion. I have one online class and one face-to-face, and my online always fills first. So it's not like they're signing up for it because there's no in-person class. And that was something that was brought up previously. I don't see it that way. As far as Black and Brown students not being successful online, the very, very best online presentation I've ever received was from a young Black male. I was astounded how good it was. It was like professional. I asked him if I could use it as an example. He declined, but at least I asked. And then my concern is we as a college will lose students if we don't offer online. They're going to go where the online is. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, Roosevelt.
You're welcome.
Just checking online on Zoom. Is there anybody else who has public comment to share? If not, then Daniela's request to.
I'm speaking as someone who sits on the budget committee and a lot of the NPNR where the budget is discussed over and over again. And beyond all the issues that have been mentioned here, I feel like this rash and hurried decision has the potential to really detrimentally impact our budget. Chris Renbarger came to PNR yesterday, and basically the way we can get out of the structural budget deficit is if we grow 3% year over year. But all we've been doing, all the administration has been doing is shrinking the schedule. And we know that administration aggressively cancels face-to-face classes if it looks like they're not going to fill. And so my concern is we are forced to put all these face-to-face classes on the books 2 weeks before spring starts, they're all canceled. Suddenly, we are down a lot of FTF, we're worsening the budget deficit, and we are potentially falling out of middle college status into small college status, which is several $1,000,000 a year. And the rash nature of this, the lack of discussion, seemingly the lack of conversation between the business services department and what scheduling is doing is quite concerning to me. And I would also point out, because no one seems to have figured this out, late start face-to-face classes go for 3 to 6 hours a day. Like, what rooms are we gonna schedule people in? Are students gonna wanna sit there for 4 hours? No, not at all. So the whole thing is problematic from a process standpoint to any kind of logic or sensibility. But also really and truly threatens the financial stability of the college. And in this day and age, given the fact that the board has sunshined program discontinuance with the FA proposal, like, this is dire. And I feel like this is a risky and ill thought out plan that has been implemented in a way that is disrespectful and is potentially catastrophically harmful to the college and the college's finances.
Thank you, Danielle. Checking in the room, please. Are there any other public comments to offer? And on Zoom, we have Sarah Hawk, please.
Just to piggyback quickly on Danielle's comment, I really appreciate her comments about the nature of the budget. And I think many of us that have been department chairs are mindful of how do we keep these classes full. She mentioned about the need for growth. And so there are classes like ours in our department. We have several faculty that are state badged, meaning that our classes are highlighted at the state level and pull from students across the state. We were required in our department to cut several of those classes in face of we're being required to add additional face-to-face classes to replace those classes with face-to-face classes. If we are trying to find more students, we're gonna have to find them out of Santa Barbara because it is incredibly expensive to live here. I know in my online classes, I pull students from not only all over the state, but all over the country and all over the world. I get international students sometimes even in my classes. So I just want to echo what Danielle said, that it's incredibly important to realize that these online classes have a financial impact because of their ability to pull from students widely outside of our geographic area, and to cut those classes, to force state badged classes, online classes to be cut, as happened in our department, and be replaced by face-to-face classes does not make economic sense.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Again, checking in. Is there any further public comment to offer? As a reminder, everybody, we do have an agenda item focused on concerns regarding scheduling, if necessary, because this is an important topic that can take things out of order to be able to move that up the list. We do have some guests as well who are here for informational items, and we do have some action items. So I will try to keep us on schedule here. Thank you to everyone who's contributed on this discussion. And I encourage you to stay for the later discussion in the second half of this meeting if you have further concerns about scheduling. If I may draw your attention, please, to item 4.01, the minutes. Something a little bit lower bar here, folks. If you can please take a look at the September 10 minutes to see if there's anything that needs readdressed, if there are any inaccuracies or any discussion, then please feel free to register your concerns. Otherwise, can I have a motion to please approve the September 10 minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 10th.
I second.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Elizabeth. The minutes so approved. I'm also going to take a moment to roll this into my own president's report for item 5.01. Everyone, we have a new attendee for the Senate. Please, everyone, I want to draw to your attention Mr. Leo Smith, who's going to serve as our ASG rep on Senate. So you have,
Yes, sir.
as well, you have been at the C committee meeting as well. So
Yes.
we are very grateful to have you here, Leo, and we hope that you can bring this to any concerns that are raised at the Senate. I look forward to working with you. I was glad that Sam was able to commend you as part of this body to represent ASG. And also I intend to visit more regularly with ASG as well.
Please do. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much, everybody. Now, on to the president's report, although we really do like highlighting our new membership as well. Let me go ahead and bring up my Senate President's report here. All right, everyone, just as a reminder, we have the fall 2025 ASCCC plenary coming up. For those of you who are interested in attending, we do have some things that are coming down the pipeline, especially with regards to burden-free access, for which there are some concerns. The recommendations from the Chancellor's office are that we encourage movement towards burden-free access. That could mean OER, that could mean first chapters within our copyright limitations as well, and also lending programs too. Some of this we already have in place. But there are also some concerns about where that rubs up against academic freedom issues. We can't be the only ones who are encountering those concerns. And so it's important for us to be as part of that conversation as well. Kathy O'Connor is going to continue as our delegate for SBCC. So please, if anyone else wants to be able to register for that, then please let me know as soon as you can. Requesting updates to the Academic Senate website. Since we're on the topic of Kathy, she was good to point out to me, but there's some documentation that is missing there. We have since updated the bylaws that were previously approved during the summer meeting. So those are available for you on the drop-down menu and also on the webpage that is listed as information about understanding the Senate. Some updates regarding our APs, two of them on the horizon. One, AP 7151, if you remember, we had several meetings during the spring to be able to update the five performance criteria. That language has been updated amid some concerns about how some departments are going to be able to implement some of the new equity requirements. So just to let you know also the background, we approved this at the same year that BPAP itself was undergoing a reformatting. Last year, our board policies and academic procedures, administrative procedures committee was going through its pilot year to try to redo the BPAP process. We are now in a rhythm. You may have noticed last semester that we had a lot of APs that were put before you to be able to review. We actually did this in reverse, where we had the AP committee and the Senate actually looking at those 5 performance criteria. Now that it's been approved by the Senate, it can go back to BPAP. Cornelia and I expect that it would not be too hard to be able to move that through, but there is requisite training that is needed. So I have tapped the Teaching and Learning Committee to be able to ask, can you put together a training, or can we have peer-to-peer consultation when it comes to departments who are concerned about how to implement this? The updated language will not go into effect until next spring, but we will make sure to keep you updated on whether or not it is approved, and also any trainings that we can offer for any departments that are concerned about how to implement the new language into their evaluation processes. The other brought to my attention by Danielle about AP 5070, it's with regard to attendance, particularly any kind of accommodation that is made around religious holidays. That language revolves largely around the taking of exams, not necessarily for other holidays that might preclude a student from being able to attend a class. And so we might want to revisit that language as well, to be able to open this up for students who are trying to observe religious holidays. Another, and I have to thank Elizabeth Chisholm and also Jamie Campbell for helping us with this, continuing discussions about noise disruptions to the IDC building. Although that was part of an initial conversation, lo and behold, we have another event on campus and the walls are rocking. So there are some concerns also about the working conditions of the faculty that have to work at IDC. And so I had asked Elizabeth for a manifest of all the rooms that actually have AC. And that also gives just how difficult it is to work at the IDC building. We have noise disruptions. We have to make a choice. Do we open up the windows and try to make things a little bit more livable, or do we want our students to learn? And just showing what's here with the CO2 monitor readings, there are 2 peaks on this particular day where the temperature in the room rose to nearly 80 degrees. That's a concern. Frankly, that is a concern for board members as well, when they saw that our cosmetology students were working under sweltering conditions they decided, no, we need to let that building go. On top of lots of other concerns about the building for which divesting the property is important. But if that's the case, then IDC is going to be a concern. And this is not a new consideration. This is a 17-year-long concern about the working conditions of IDC faculty members. They have bravely tried to submit this to program review over and over and over again in the most clever of ways that I've seen, but try to put this into program review. Yes, Barbara.
Even in the room where I am, where we have supposedly the AC, I can't get it below 78. I mean, it's manageable, but I put in a request. I mean, I go to WCC, I need to put on a coat, it's fantastic. But hey, it wasn't.
It was hot.
But even though they're right, and nobody's paying attention to any of the facilities requests. We did have a little, we fixed it, it was over 90 in one of the rooms, someone went in and turned on the heat.
Oh.
So let's just make it a little bit worse, but anyway, even the rooms for us that have, we're lucky enough in English to have 3 AC rooms. We can't get it down to a livable level, and we're not sure if maybe that's capped over there.
Shouldn't be.
Again, I will try to keep this in conversation at the next board meeting as well. And also, we had one meeting with facilities and with 2 of our VPs. This doesn't have to be the last. Amy felt like it was a good start when it came to having us linked to the events calendar so that instructors could try to coordinate around that. But also, that's a one-sided approach that says the responsibility is on faculty to be able to coordinate around this. We need some assistance when it comes to the events themselves and to say, can we agree to block out hours? And it's not just for exams, it's for every day instruction. So start with a conversation. As to keep going, I'll make sure to keep this in conversation as well. All right, folks. And lastly, just to put this on your radar, some of you had asked about the Consultation Council. Consultation Council is composed of members of the Executive Cabinet. The last meeting that we had, its initial meeting, also included President Jonathan Abud and also Vice President Kyle Richards as well. And it included a contingent of 6 faculty, Senate, and FA. We have since also decided on what our final membership is going to be. We are projecting that the next meeting for which some aspects of collegiate consultation can take place. That is going to tentatively convene October 1st.
You don't have the final member today.
Actually, for the Senate, we did. For the FA, I believe that the FA has already decided. We're just trying to find a meeting date when all of us can actually convene. But if you do have concerns that you want to raise in the Consultation Council, I encourage you to reach out to me. Representing the Senate, it will be me, it will be Tara, it will be our incoming president-elect, Stephen Hawk as well. That's my report, everybody. If I can draw your attention to the next item, we have our updates from the Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Villalobos.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks, everyone. So let's start with the update regarding our EdVision plan. As you may know, hopefully everyone does, is well aware that year 1 activities of our 2025-2029 EdVision plan are being implemented, being discussed as we speak amongst the teams that were identified for each one of the activities. So I'm not going to read all of these updates for you, but basically the first page of my report is a comprehensive update or from the team leads for each one of the activities under year 1 activities. And I've also hyperlinked the EdVision plan for you for convenience and for a quick reference for your read and review. So I thought it would be important to share with you an update on the EDP's year 1 priorities. It's the first time that I'm bringing an update for you. We've only launched it, I think it was late spring, and it goes to December of 2025, the year 1 priorities, that is. And so that's what that first page is.
Can you give us access?
I just did.
Yes, to what, the EDP? Like, it's a public document.
Well, we didn't have access.
To what?
I just have to switch.
Your report.
My report, oh, okay, that's Josh, thank you.
That's me.
I'm sorry, that's okay. It happens to the best of us. The next piece is the So as you know, I am exiting the ALO role, the Accreditation Liaison Officer, with the submission of the midterm report. And the Executive Director of Institutional Research and Planning, Dr. Magnow, is now going to be taking over the ALO role. The plan was always for me to be in that role as an interim after the previous executive director left. I agreed to help out and do that work for a while. So as she is now onboarding and I was leaving that role, I thought it would be important to share with you that, you know, as you know, we're starting with our new ICER, writing our new ICER report this fall. And thought I would share with you what I am seeing from the ACCJC visiting teams that have gone to various colleges to review, you know, their ICER reports, is that they are really sending back or offering core inquiries, is what they call them, but really contingent approvals based on one of the standards that relates to online teaching and learning, which is standard 2.6. And so I put a sample of that there that comes from the letters that colleges are receiving regarding not fully being in compliant with standard 2.6, which is the one about distance education and correspondence education, basically related to ensuring that regular and substantive interaction is occurring in all distance ed courses. So all that to say that there's about 6 or 7 colleges that are being reviewed for that particular standard only as we speak. And so there, I think it's some sort of movement, I think, from ACCJC to really making sure that colleges are compliant with that one particular standard. And I'm giving ourselves a heads up that as we write our new ICER report, that we really try to have those conversations and have clear plans. I've already started those discussions with the distance education coordinator, Matt Mooney. So I know that we're going to be okay, but it's because we are now paying attention to that specific standard. We don't want to receive any core inquiries at the culmination of the visits. So, and then also I thought I would also that I would include and remind everyone that for our improvement plans, we really do need to be continuing to look at our data reports from various sources, including our internal system, Tableau, but also the statewide systems, Data Vista, Data Mart, etc. I just took a quick sample of various reports that are available for all of us under the hyperlinked document there titled Data Report. Please don't read between the lines. It means nothing. It's just a random sample of SNP tool image reports from those that are available that I visit regularly as I'm looking around at data systems. So that's that piece. Happy to share that we've dispersed about almost $1 million in strong workforce grants this semester alone to the departments listed here. So yay for them for applying, et cetera, and complying with the criterion. So we were able to support those departments in that way. Also, I was able to secure some additional reader funds. We had secured $45,000 for reader funds for this year. I've identified an additional $10,000 to help support specifically the departments that are offering larger classes, but also those departments that are generously helping us improve our efficiency efforts. So I've contacted Jamie, chair of PNR, to let him know, and so we're happy to coordinate that piece this year, whether it's used for this semester or next semester. That can be up to PNR. In addition, I've also requested and secured some money, not a lot, for professional development for faculty around AI specifically. I know that's a big topic recently, and so I can work with Josh to try to determine how those funds are going to be dispersed, allocated, and so happy to share that news with you today. And then I know that at the last Senate meeting, we talked a lot about the process for filling positions, vacancies. So this is my note to you that I worked really hard in the last couple of days to get a better estimate in terms of where we are with the fall this semester. Looks like we'll have about 14 above our fawn obligation number. You may recall that last year we were at 27, but we've had 10 folks retire since then. So, or so. And so it looks like we're going to be at above 14 above fawn. And so also we are generating the memo that will go out with the timeline, requesting data, with information about data requests and proposals should the Senate wish to move forward with this process as they did last year for emergency hires.
Question, are you
Yes.
able to disclose how many retirements there will be this year?
Yes, I am able to share that. Thus far, because sometimes they come late, but thus far we have 5, I think, full-timers that are retiring this year. So that's what we received by the deadline, but there's always some late folks as well. So at least 5 for sure. And then just a quick note there regarding my drop-in hours to chat about anything. Please invite you to stop by. And then additional information, 2 sets of webinars. One is locally launched, the enrollment management series that we've decided to engage in this semester after having participated in the Enrollment Management Academy over the summer. And then finally, one that is coordinated by the Chancellor's Office regarding STEM and ESL pathways. Continue to offer really valuable, high-quality webinars that are free to all of us. So, I end my report with that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Villagomez. Vice President Arnold, please.
Thank you. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to provide some updates on events happening in the next couple of weeks. First, I hope everyone had the opportunity to attend the Pride Center opening yesterday. It was really beautiful and really well attended. If you didn't have a chance to go to the grand opening, please feel free just to stop by for you maybe have a minute on that side of campus. As a reminder, you all saw the presentation from Becky Bean last week about the Companion Hub. There was an awesome article about it in the Independent. The launch party and vaccine clinic is being held tomorrow on the West Campus lawn. And so I hope people will come out and support and participate that. Again, this is a resource that's being shared with all of the California community colleges. This is a really incredible resource that Becky and the WELL have developed to support students across the state. Enrollment Services and Admissions and Records are hosting the SBCC Connect on Friday. This is where we invite all of our local high school counselors and administrators to refresh, learn about SBCC, so that they can help prepare students as they start the process of transitioning from high school seniors to SBCC students. The University Transfer Center is scheduled to have their transfer fair Wednesday, October 29th, 11 to 2 o'clock. This is where we usually have between 75 and 100 universities from around the country here at SBCC to speak to our students about transferring once they've completed SBCC. That same night, Enrollment Services and Admissions and Records hosts the College Fair Night at Dos Pueblos High School in partnership with Santa Barbara Unified School District. That is those same 75 to 100 universities, but then in the evening, the focus is on our local high school students. But that is also hosted and organized by Santa Barbara City College, our enrollment services teams primarily. And then last but not least, the Chancellor's Office Undocumented Student Action, now called Success Week, is happening October 14th to 17th. I believe I have the dates right. This Dream Center is actually taking inspiration and hosting an entire Undocumented Student Success Month and beyond. They have many programs and activities scheduled both here on Cliff Campus and the Wade Campus in partnership with the Dream Center out at the Shop Center. So please keep an eye out for all of those opportunities. There will be opportunities for students, for staff, for both. So please take advantage of, of those opportunities that are be starting in a couple weeks. And that's all for me. Yes.
Quick question. When you talked about these events to inform high school students, I remember in the past, divisions or departments had the opportunity to have tables there to inform about their programs. Is that at any time planned again?
So that's not at these two particular events. These are really university college fairs. We did host the event or two events at the end of March where we brought the local high school students here to campus to highlight what SBCC has to offer. And that would be the opportunity where departments are interested in showcasing. That would be a great time to collaborate with enrollment services, be included on tours or to table or however works best for your department.
Okay, thank you.
Those will be in spring when we bring all of our local high school students.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, I am going to take an item out of order just to make sure that our guests can have their presentation and understand that Julie Sampson also has an event as well for the Scheinfeld Center. I have invited Julie Sampson and also Holly Brecht to be able to talk about AI Unlocked. This is a 3-event series that will extend from October moving forward and on a continuing effort to be able to raise awareness about what programs we offer on AI literacy and also connecting us with the larger Santa Barbara area and industry as well. So if you please come on up. And I will also bring up what attachments that you provided here. So we have 10 minutes as well.
Okay, perfect.
Well, great. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, members. It's so nice to be here. Yeah, so I'm Julie Sampson, Director of the Scheinfeld Center.
I'm Holly Eubanks in the Career Center.
And we're here today to share with you this 3-event series that we're hosting on campus in October and November with the South Coast Chamber of Commerce and also the Small Business Development Centers. It's AI Unlocked, how businesses and startups are using AI in Santa Barbara County, the skills you need, and your path to AI literacy. This 3-part series is aimed at cultivating AI literacy. It's designed for business leaders, students, faculty, employees. We're really working to make this relevant to as you know, AI adoption is moving quickly, more quickly than workforce preparation, creating an AI literacy gap. Local businesses are adopting AI tools at a rapid pace, and students are entering the workforce where AI is already a part of what's going on, how the business is running. And it's also a challenge with educational alignment, keeping up with what the needs are. Our goal with this series is to help bridge that gap. We want to provide the opportunity for business owners to share what's working with AI and what skills they need. We would like students to have the opportunity to discover how AI is shaping careers and internships. We hope that faculty will feel supported with employer partner insights. And we want to support our college in aligning programs with our community. So the series is on the slide, which I think is attached to the agenda. The first one, the first event is on October 10th. It's focused on a panel of small business owners sharing what tools they're using, what's working, what's not working, what results they're getting in terms of achieving time and efficiency. The second one is focused on startups in our area. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but we are this emerging AI hub. There are startups here and venture capital that is attracted because of that. We've got Google Labs working with UCSB, a lot's going on, so it's pretty exciting. And so we'll have a panel of startups sharing how they're using AI to move forward and validate their ideas and growth. The third one, Shaping the Future, is all about what's on the edge for our larger companies here in Santa Barbara. what's on the frontier for that, right? What do we need to be thinking about where things are going? And along with all of this, it's not listed here, but we're sending out a survey with the support of the Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Development Center to really get the pulse on what's going on with AI with our local businesses, because we can listen to the national data, but as AI progresses, it's not going to progress evenly across all areas. So what's happening here? That's what we want to find out. All of these events are free. They're all on, so it's October 10th, 24th, and November 7th. Those are all Fridays. They're all from 12:30 to 2. The format is the same for all. There will be a short introduction to provide a framework for what we're going to talk about, a panel discussion, an interactive activity in the BC Forum. So we really want these activities to be interactive. We've all known how our students can be challenged with networking, and we want to support them in this, but also support all of us in having the next conversation so that we can address some of our challenges and opportunities together. Yeah, so in the BC Forum, and so after the panel discussion and interactive activities, there will be refreshments out on the patio, catered refreshments. And so the reason that we are bringing this up here is because we really hope you will attend. We think this will help you stay informed about what employers are asking for. And some tools that you may find helpful, will be offering tools at each session that you can immediately use. It may help you guide students towards AI literacy and career readiness and build connections with community partners who are eager to collaborate. On the student side, they'll gain real world exposure to businesses. We are looking to have businesses table that have internships that where students get experience hands-on with AI tools. And they, with the AI literacy framework that we're going to share with you, they'll be able to have some self-agency in their progression with AI literacy, knowing what it is, what the pathway is, and choosing the course that works for them. And, also just the connection, working to have discussions that help them feel in the fold with what's going on and helping to shape how we move forward with AI. So our call to action is to please join us and RSVP. We really want to fill the auditorium. We really want this mixed group, and if you could encourage your students also to attend, we're really working to be something where people take, no matter what group you're in, that you really take home valuable things that you can immediately put to use. And anything to add, Holly?
No, I'm just really excited to hear that, Maria, you mentioned that AI, education for our faculty, but also for our students. We're just hearing more and more from employers and from students that really need to help kind of fill that gap of just having those discussions, like what tools employers are using, what's working, what isn't, and why. I think it's just really important that we have a forum where students and employees and faculty, we feel comfortable to have those discussions.
Yes.
Are any of these sessions going to address the ethical issues of AI use?
I'm glad that you asked that. So when we talk about AI literacy, the framework that we're presenting, I think it's really going to help this discussion that comes up, because ethics are clearly a concern that needs to be addressed regarding AI. However, there are other parts of AI literacy that also need to be addressed. And so our focus in presenting the framework is to say, All of these topics, including literacy, are important in this discussion. But where we're really focusing is on the section of the domain of what businesses are using, right? There are a lot of opportunities. We think, you know, where the other discussions are being had, which need to happen, and kind of our domain to bring to the table to support all of you and our entire campus and community is helping to bridge that where businesses are and where our students are, and kind of providing some tools that might help all of you. So it's not gonna be a major, it's not gonna be a focus, but it's gonna be recognized as this is part of the conversation. And when I said in that first 10 minutes, we're gonna set up the framework, that's what we're gonna, one of that we're gonna set up is that we get it. This all needs to be talked about. We're zooming in on this end.
I would think businesses would also have some concern about the ethical issues of people doing their resumes, so forth, and how that's being done. And I don't know, I would assume that's the case.
Even interview processes.
Yes.
What happens when you have an applicant who has something that is the identity of what's within bounds? Hey, Holly, just wanted to let you know, I've included this in my updates to the board as well. Whenever the question about AI comes up, they are responding to students' concerns about where students are majoring and worried about careers that they may be interested in but may disappear in light of AI. So this is a big concern for our students as well. In the last spring AI series, we had a panel of 4 students who came in who expressed, no, I don't want to cheat myself out of an education, but I'm also worried about getting into a major for which this may be obsolete. And so this is a really important discussion to be had. If you don't mind, I would also like to extend an invitation as well. We have some trustees who have been good about visiting when we have said these are opportunities to find out that we do know.
That would be wonderful. I think we all need to be in on the conversation. And really, this is just the beginning. We're putting this together and putting this out there. There can be follow-up on events. We kind of need to learn from everyone what's needed. And I think Santa Barbara City College in our community can really bring this collaborative effort to the table. Right now, efforts are kind of siloed, and I think in order to really work together in our community, we need to have discussions together. And I think we're really committed to really stepping up to the plate and getting SBCC on the AI ecosystem now, you know, along with all the work that all of you are doing. I think it's gonna go far and really help everybody across the board. Yeah.
Much appreciated, Julie. Holly, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you. Thank you.
If I may draw your attention to the agenda, we are going to return to our liaisons reports. We didn't get a chance to get to them last time, so we are rolling together what updates we have from our committee liaisons. We have in the room Tara, we have Katie, and we also have Dee and myself, and also Stephanie, please. Does anyone want to begin with what updates they have from our committees? Stephanie, you seem eager.
Well, I was like, I'm here. Okay.
I was making the.
The committee hasn't met. First meeting of the semester will happen this coming week on tomorrow on Thursday. Top 2 things on the agenda are AP 5550, updating the academic integrity to include some language for AI, and the reviewing the TLU limit policy. For FPSS, we've had 2 meetings so far this fall semester. A quick update, Nusha will be stepping in for Sitlali as tutor coordinator until Sitlali's back. FPSS is also continuing to monitor the net tutor hours to try to stay within the allocated limit or amount set by the state. Every year we get like a free amount of net tutor usage. And so last year we voted and we decided to just stay within the allotted hours and not pay for extra over usage. And we heard some faculty members talk about that here at the Senate body at large. So that's going to be monitored. And a big goal for FPSS this year is with the change in the birth of AI, how can FPSS help support AI in the tutoring platform? So we're gonna try to put together resources for faculty using AI as learning support tools. And so this is just a conversation of how can we be a standard for that moving forward, and help, for example, our students who may request like SPS accommodations. How can we be like leaders in helping create like opportunities for faculty to learn how to integrate that into their tutoring and classroom instruction, and as well as taking on any new requests or recommendations from the faculty or campus at large for how FPSS can help with student success. With that in mind, with the AI policy being integrated into AP 5550, FPSS really wants to stay ahead of that and help provide resources that doesn't limit students that do use AI in a meaningful way. So this conversation really needs to be happening now before any policy about AI usage gets placed into the system. And so FPSS is just the beginning of trying to create a work group to help partner with FRC and ICC and make this happen.
We have a follow-up question.
Very quickly, that second bullet under AP, what is the issue, about the 25 still be, is that, what is that concern?
Currently, the 25 TLU limit is for any faculty can only teach up to 25 units without getting overload approval, but TLUs are not distinguished between instructional TLUs and leadership TLUs. And so that's been an ongoing discussion, even an open comment today, and so FPSF has their very first meeting tomorrow, but I know this is on the agenda as the.
With the goal of raising the limit. That would be.
I will report back after the first AP meeting.
I got it.
Making the distinction, but I'll provide language.
Yes. And amid concerns that we are not replacing faculty, we are having difficulties filling leadership positions on campus from chair to, from just department chair roles to committee responsibilities.
Right.
So it is a concern. I'm sorry?
We don't have division.
And also, I think a very important point here is that because of the discrepancy between how the TLUs are applied, faculty are often made to choose within the 25 between a leadership role or a teaching role. Teaching for the same TLUs pays more. So they, even within the same 25 TLUs, they acted like Dante, I think was spoken about in the public comment, just had that same choice. He reached that limit, and was it, do I teach and get my full salary, or do I take this leadership role and get paid less for doing the same amount of work? And so I think that that's an issue as well.
It's also a complication when we say, yes, you have department members who meet certain quals, but there are reasons why chairs are making careful decisions about schedules and saying, there's no one else to be able to teach this because this is about disciplinary expertise. And so some departments have no choice but to say, I can't give up this course because students need this. But if I had to choose between that and a leadership position that absolutely must be filled, what are we to do? And so these are some of the challenges that we are facing without a distinction between instructional and leadership TLUs. Russell, please.
Yeah, so within my division, so many of our departments are single faculty, so there is no choice. We don't have that option. And so the default is we don't offer the class, right? And so it impacts students in that way. That's what I'm thinking. You do not have adjunct to fulfill that role. Right?
Laura.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but this is why I gave up SLOs. You're literally having a faculty member have to choose, do I take on leadership, and I'm literally giving up dollars out of my paycheck and food out of my mouth to take on leadership roles, which are significantly more work, significantly harder, hurting cats. I mean, leadership roles are hard, and God love y'all, but not everyone listens, and it's hard to do stuff. Where teaching, I mean, it's what we do. It's like what's second nature to us. We could probably do it in our sleeps, half of us. And so, like, I could teach and do the easy thing that pays me more Or I could be a leader on campus and take on leadership roles that pay me less. Yes, it's needed, but like, this is kind of a no-brainer.
And our SLOs are a serious accreditation issues. Just to give you a timeline, we are 2 years out from the session of our internal review. That's not a whole lot of time when it comes to trying to herd cats, when it comes to SLOs and workforce improvement plans. Rosabeth, please close us out.
So it makes me wonder why we cannot use more adjuncts on committees and in leadership roles, because have a large majority of your instructors on this campus who are adjunct, and they're not being utilized. We have to pay them.
But there is also.
We're having money.
Yeah, they're having the money.
Yeah, there's just no way to get them paid.
And I think, can I just say to Barbara, like, some of the issue is people end up like 0.2 over the 5 and then have to give up a class or give a, like, it's
Like it's very foreign to our departmental.
it's, yeah, it doesn't happen in history very often, but
Have those
yeah.
all.
Katie, if I may, do you have any updates from PNR?
Yes, I'll be quick. All right, let me pull it up. Yeah, so for PNR, so 2 weeks ago, we allocated reader funds. This year it was about 45,000 as Dr. Villagomez already mentioned. And then yesterday, as Danielle mentioned, we had a visit from our VP of Business Services, who was really quite kindly forthcoming to like our constant interrogation regarding budget and sort of like where we're going, the shortfalls, you know, where the money is being spent, where prices, you know, where costs are going up. And as Danielle said, the real takeaway for me was that, I mean, I think a lot of you know in this room that the Board of Trustees has asked for a balanced budget by sort of beginning spring, I believe, of 2027. And that will require either a cut of 3.5 million for 2 years, or a continuous growth of enrollment of 3% year over year. So, or presumably some combination of the two, but when I asked him where that 3.5 million funds to would be coming out of, he just stared. So, no, I mean, he was very kind, so I don't mean to mischaracterize him. He just wasn't going to get into that. And we can all hope maybe the enrollment will save us. Do you have a question, Matt? Oh, okay. And then in terms of ITC, they had a guest, Dave Furman, and one of the questions is there's a lot of Chromebooks that were given out that haven't been returned. I know that what Jane Campbell said yesterday, if we don't have to pay for a lot of new Chromebooks, there is a budget to basically cover all of the requests, last year's requests, resource requests from both ITC and PNR. But if we have to purchase a lot of Chromebooks, that will not be the case. So there is a demand for Chromebooks, and there's also an attempt to try to get some of those Chromebooks that were sent out back to campus or back in the system. And the program review items are being reviewed by the budget committee, and presumably we'll get approval for those in the next couple weeks. I guess ITC has also had a long sort of a 2-year investigation of AI. I thought this statement was interesting, which is that their guest noted that there's no community college that currently has an official AI policy. Kathy, you're on that committee, is that true?
No.
That's what Lori noted, and she's kind of our ex.
Actually,
This guy
my
in
hand's
email
raised.
today that shows the different schools that have certain
Oh, well,
policies.
Lori's online, maybe she can fill us in.
Lori, please.
And then if it needs.
Yeah,
She is.
sorry, my head's in the student equity plan at the moment. Yeah, so the bottom, what I want reported on ITC is that it's true, we've taken a deep dive on AI, looking at it from an educational tools perspective, but also UCSB does not even have a AI policy at this point as of January 2025. And after listening to a lot of people speak at this meeting, I'd like, Josh, for you to consider pulling together the chairs of the Senate work groups who are discussing AI so we can talk about it together to make sure that we are coordinated in our approach. So as this conversation goes on throughout campus, we're not missing information or we're making sure we're covering everything we need to, because there's going to be so much information coming out that we all need to be aware of. I want to make sure that the information coming to Senate is fully fleshed out, but also coordinated from the work groups.
Agreed.
Josh?
Thanks so much, Lori. Yes.
We just received an email today of the DEL list for the state that actually has a pretty interesting spreadsheet on all the AI policies and guidelines so far that have been generated by the different colleges. So it's a good resource for us.
A note on that came from me, because I contacted the president of the organization. I said, we need to do this. She says, what resources do you have? And so I gave her all my resources.
Anyway, the list was sent out today.
Thank you so much. We'll make sure to review that and keep this in conversation at Senate. Just thank you so much, Katie. Tara, do you have any updates from CAC?
I will share a couple things from CAC, particularly because we talked about RSI a moment ago, and just to clarify, it has been on our radar for quite some time. So we were very well ahead of the ACCJC rubric, and we completely rewrote the addenda to capture two parts of RSI into two different questions of the DE addendum. So we will have lots of data to capture. And CAC has made it its charge, one of its projects this term, to help clarify the review process for those questions, so that what we expect at a course level is actually being implemented in the classroom. So we are creating our own resources to help faculty, and you can share that with faculty. There's a lot on our website currently that we've put together, but we're going to create even additional resources. So it's on our radar. And then just secondly, CAC, of course, is very busy implementing Common Core Numbering Phase 2A. And you've been contacted.
Ignore the email.
Unless you from Laura Castro. Thank you, Josh.
TLC meets Friday. Discussing the part-time faculty onboarding. That's the discussion item, and been charged with creating a program, a work group for that. So that's Saturday, Friday from 9 to 11.
I'm assuming that's also going to include part-time faculty on board.
Yes, did I say full-time? No, you said part-time.
Part-time,
Yeah.
To make sure
Yeah.
that's something that Justina really wanted to head.
Yes.
We have a comprehensive onboarding for full-timers, but we thought a lot of our resources could be used for part-timers as well. Also very helpful because we have part-timers who don't know anyone on campus other than the departments to whom they are accountable. And it's just good practice to make sure that you have part-timers who have people on campus that they can refer to outside the department. It's very helpful. I'd also be curious to hear what comes out of the group with regard to the evaluation process and our 5 performance criteria, which we've updated, and to see what we can do to provide training as we try to implement that new equity language as well. So I talked about that with Justina and suggesting that the faculty connection actually takes part in that role. Thank you so much, Dee. Are there any other updates with regards to TLC? Okay, thank you. And lastly, everyone, tying in with Katie's updates regarding PNR, just wanted to give you an update as to where we are with regard to CPC. The College Planning Council has now officially met twice, and also CPC is going to have its retreat on Tuesday next week as well. One of the areas for concern was with regard to the budget and the fact that it was going into the September 11 meeting for approval. At the initial CPC meeting, however, that budget was not furnished to us. We had to wait until the following Thursday when the budget committee met to have CPC members included in a Zoom meeting to go over a preview of what the budget would actually look like. And we also requested that a special CPC meeting be called so that all the CPC would have yet again another opportunity to be able to weigh in. What Katie, I think, was alluding to here, if you take a look at the item that is boxed in red, these are the projections for what our total expenditures are going to be looking like over the next few years. This other line item here, net change in fund balance, this adjustment here is what we are looking at for academic year 2026, 2027. It is a concern because that is $3.34 million that we have to somehow close the gap on. The following year after that, that rises to 5.5. So that's a concern about the size of the schedule and also the size of the student body coming in as well, as to whether or not all the measures that we are doing are going to be able to balance all this out. That led to a larger question as to what faculty's involvement is when it comes to the budget. We were told at CPC that while the administration will accept feedback about the process for budget development, that the dollar for dollar, line item for line item development of the budget, that they will not take feedback on that. That's where Erica and I had to have a one-on-one conversation about bringing in a third party to discuss what the faculty's role is when it comes to budget development. If you look at the faculty 10+1, item number 10 specifically outlines processes for institutional planning and budget development. Having a husband who actually teaches English, you can either conjoin with the and, or you can parse up with the and on that statement. That's where I had to take a look at what the ASCCC documentation is. If it was as simple as the case as this is not a matter for faculty to weigh in, why would they have a 30-page document that discusses the faculty's nuanced role when it comes to budget? So there is a lot there for which both sides can say we have a necessity to weigh in. And I'm always of the opinion when it comes to the process itself, when we disagree about the process, it always bounds back to an analysis of the budget itself, where we say, but this is wrong in the budget. It is also our priority as faculty, as outlined by the ASCCC, to make sure that the budget itself is in alignment first and foremost with academic priorities. And when we see academic salaries go down, that means overloads are down, class offerings are down. And so we do have to bring that into question. The other thing that I wanted to share with you to close this out with regard to CPC, just something that I excised from ASCCC's position on this, especially in times of fiscal hardship, clear and consistent communication is essential in order to reach all the institution stakeholders, including faculty. At each California Community College, the view that everyone owns the budget can help to get faculty involved and can also help an institution come together to make strategic fiscal decisions that minimize the impact on the institution's mission to serve students. When I read that, that says we need the ASCCC to come in. There are some things that faculty could be better informed about budget development, but also how to be able to articulate this with the rest of the campus as well. So to be continued, everyone, I'm going to put in a service call accordingly so that we can get an ASCCC representative. I encourage you to attend as well. And so that we can also try to communicate this as well to the rest of the community. All right, folks, we have a critical vote here because this also ties in with any possibility about presentations about emergency hires. We just had Dr. Villagomez say that the likelihood of us being able to hire full-time faculty and replacement faculty, that we may have to resort to emergency protocols here only. If you'll recall, we had one presentation for administration of justice that came in last time, but that means that we had to reconcile the calendar for trying to say, here's an open call for even emergency hires. And Dr. Villagomez shared with me a draft copy of that. We can also bring that into discussion later on for one of our agendized items. But that also ties in with our schedule as well. You'll notice on your calendar that you have a tentatively scheduled meeting for Wednesday, November 26th, but that is the week of Thanksgiving, folks. I'm not going to assume that's a no-brainer, but I'm going to say the alternative that you have on your calendar is Wednesday, December 3. Given the two options here, is there any discussion that you would like around this? Or
Make a motion.
Danielle has a motion.
I so move that we should not meet on November 26th, instead we meet on.
Second. We have Danielle with a motion and we have that seconded by Matt Kay. Shall we take a vote? All in favor of Wednesday, December 3? Any opposed?
Sorry.
One. So noted. We have one no vote. Any abstention?
Who was our no vote? Sorry.
Oh,
okay, we're doing it. Okay.
That's a Sabrina's.
It's a good reason.
Yeah, sweet 16.
Sweet.
Oh.
It's a really good reason.
That might be the
There's
first.
nothing like it about.
Oh, and then we say no.
We'll have to sign a card.
But we will sign. We'll get some cards going. All right, folks, then it so passes. I will remove November 26th off of your calendars and we will officially label Wednesday, December 3, Leo, as well. Just note that on your calendar. I'll make sure to have you on the invite as well. Thank you so much. All right, folks, that was one carryover from the previous meeting. The other carryover that we have, again, important continuing discussion, and this does not have to be the last time that we do this, faculty protocols for immigration and law enforcement as well. Just wanted to let you know as well, Paloma and I tried to attend a webinar yesterday that tried to go over some guidelines with regard to immigration law enforcement on campus and also FERPA. Unfortunately, they put that towards the second half of the webinar, so I was not able to attend that one, but there is a recording. I will try to bring that in next time. Of the divisions that actually raised the most concern about this, I'm proud to say it's our STEM colleague who went directly to the BPAA's office to say, what do we have to do with students on campus? And again, to reiterate, we, with all good intentions, wanted to bring some guidelines to the Senate retreat. But those guidelines are primarily intended for what happens when ICE first enters into the campus and also the first responders, so to speak, campus safety when they encounter them. But those guidelines may not necessarily apply to those of us who are in the classroom, particularly in situations where they show up to the classroom door, what is within our latitude, and also how we protect the faculty as well from doing anything that might get ourselves in trouble. So that's why I'm glad that Stephanie and Matt are here. Were there other concerns that were raised as well in your conversations?
Yes. I think that the energy that emerged from our division meeting and subsequent conversations was very different from the energy that emerged from our Senate retreat. I'm going to be very careful not to point fingers here because this information was presented to the Senate. We digested it. We had a conversation about it. We presented that same information at our division meeting, and it was immediately clear that we have guidance that's way too slow, way too reactive, way too assuming of this fantasy like orderly procedure that's going to happen where ex-agents are being led around campus and actually listening to what we're saying. And so, and again, I'm not trying to be pejorative. I think we view this kind of like the early stages of COVID. This is like an emergency and we're all trying to figure out what to do. And having identified that problem, some of our ask from the sciences to the administration is that we staff vehicle entrance points on the campus with not student workers, but security folks who are going to kind of be able to interact with ICE. It's very intimidating when the stormtroopers come to town, right? So we would like security personnel there, we'd like SBPD informed immediately because they're on record saying that they will actually intervene if there are not judicial warrants, not administrative warrants, but if there's not a judicial warrant being shown, they will actually intervene. We're not getting that promise from the sheriff, right? And we're in the city, thankfully. And we'd like a notification to go out. And the concern with this notification is that it could be perceived as obstruction. And to that, we simply say, create language that is defensible in court. ICE is on campus, please comply with all local and federal laws, right? Something like that. But the message is, there's a situation on campus. And so we'd like, that's our ask. And then we also like more guidance on where the line is legally. Like, at what point am I committing a felony? If I close my classroom door, am I then a felon? Right? Some of us are really concerned about that. And so, and now there's a lot of gray area. We know, speaking with Paloma, is she still here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Paloma's been looking into this with immigration and other lawyers on it, and it's not really clear. So again, I think the sciences are stepping towards administration to have sort of a more proactive response to this as we're moving through this sort of rapidly evolving sort of landscape, what to do. And so have that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just, Matthew, thank you so much for kind of conveying the sentiment and the feeling, I think, of faculty amongst the science division. So again, just to recap, there are really three things I think Matt has pointed out. One is we're teaching in the classroom, dun, 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 and all of a sudden our students are getting text message from their friends, from social media. Is ICE on campus? ICE isn't on campus. We won't know because we're teaching, we won't have our cell phone. So please, on the campus, please send out a notification if in fact ICE is on campus with the language that Matt provided. ICE is on campus, we are required to follow the law or some iteration of that. Just that way, we can help hold that space as needed, right? Because then now that's where potentially chaos can unfold. So we would just like to know if it's true or not. And then I think there's been a lot of work with campus safety and I know administration for training campus safety on how to intercept. Just clear messaging on if ICE is near campus or on campus, because we want the guarantee that campus safety will intercept and be the first point of contact. I know that memo linked here addressed that a little bit, but we just want to know what the chain of command is before ICE comes to campus. So what the campus approaches, and 3, to summarize, Matt, is what are the big picture guidelines? So we got this message. ICE is on campus, it's real. Campus safety, intercept them. They're the first point of campus. What do we do? And I know there's a lot of different language and scenarios that came out, and thank you, everybody who's worked on this, but we're just so simple. We're just in the classroom. What do I do next? I catch on fire cooking in my kitchen. Stop, drop, and roll. I get the text message. What's next? So that's our 3 asks. Send out ICE notification, clear guidance on what the campus approach is to intercept ICE, and how now, if we get the text message and we're in the classroom, or holding space with our students, we're in a club activity, we're out on the lawn, what do we do next?
What did you say for number 2? I'm sorry, I have 70. Third and I didn't write.
What's the campus approach?
Campus. A more straightforward, direct.
Yes, I think we all read the email many times, and Maria sent out a reminder just a few weeks ago about, the idea that an ICE agent's gonna show up to your classroom with the warrant is not gonna happen in an ideal sense, because how would they know they're in your classroom at that specific time unless campus safety gave them that information, and campus safety wouldn't do that. So that email clearly states that, but what are the protocols that campus safety is doing to make sure that somehow ICE agents aren't hiking up the stairs from the beach? And I think Paloma really addressed that to us at a smaller division level, that they're being trained and they're really being proactive about that. So what is the campus approach to ICE sightings, and how are they ensuring that we don't just have people wandering onto our campus space, to the body at large, And yeah, so that was a few things to sum up, but thank you. And I think that was, again, as Matt said, a lot of this is where, came from a really global, sincere discussion from faculty members in our division that was not being recorded, was not online, and it was just like, we teach long class periods, our labs are over 3 hours long, where sometimes we're in non-traditional spaces with students on campus. How can we best serve them when all these things like, if you lock the door, that could be perceived as obstruction, if you find out, but if your physical safety is at risk, you can close the door, but you know, we have mixed beliefs of students in our classrooms. We have mixed beliefs of faculty in our classroom. That's our 3 asks.
Let's go with Kathy and Barbara.
I'm really glad you brought that up because we're in a very unique situation in physical education athletics because we're on the field in our classroom with soccer practices, football practices, multiple classes. And so that's even worse because we can't really close a door. And there could be, I mean, I don't think we've had these issues yet in Santa Barbara, but I'm very concerned also because our students and our faculty are very exposed in that.
Barbara,
Sorry, we should talk about this as well. It's a great fill. It's helpful in getting us some follow-up on what we talked about in service and what we sort of came up with at the time that I think now is shifting is a sort of very pared down bullet list that we were attaching to the computer systems and things in each of our classrooms. It said, look, if this happens, boom, boom. I mean, I don't mind a long detailed email because I do that with my assignment sheets, but I do think it's nice to have right there where we can look. If something happens, we're not gonna pull up our email. You know, we need something quick, and so I think we need to adjust ours. Can we do something campus-wide that would be, or would that be seen as obstruction of justice if we start posting things all over campus? I do think it would be nice to have something consistent in all classrooms.
Well,
If we could get
I don't know that our division would agree with that because the spaces are so unique, so the.
at least I mean, maybe with some adjustments, but something that had some consistent overlap. And then it could be edited per division as needed, but it would be nice to have something campus-wide that we also, like you said, stop, drop, and roll, not quite like that, but we would all sort of be on the same page.
What I was gonna say really briefly was, I mean, your analogy to COVID, it's like, I'm sure you guys have heard that, you know, in California, the law has been passed that people can no longer be masked and they must have identification. But somebody raised the issue, how would you possibly go up against that? Right? Like, let's say people come to California, I'm sure they will, who are masked. And then what? I mean.
They're already in California.
What's that?
They're already
in
here.
California, right, they're in California, but I mean, if some ICE agent walked up to you, probably, you know, you would not be the first target. But if they did, I mean, what would you're not gonna say, take your mask off, right? I mean, that's.
Oh, I
Right. Like they say, even the police may not have really the authority to rip somebody's mask off or demand their mask off. So, I mean, my point about Matt's point is just, there's so many unknowables, right? And when you're in a position of vulnerability, which, you know, some are more vulnerable than others, it is that question about what do you do? Like, how can you make a policy when you're sort of out? I don't want to use the term gunned, but it's a very, very difficult situation, even for our local police.
Let's go with SC and then Roosevelt to close us.
A while back, we talked about private places and public spaces like offices. We said our offices are private, is that right? But classrooms are not. Remember, we were told post signs, so we have a sign up that says this space is for ESL students and staff and teachers. But can you say any more about that? Paloma?
So
What you know?
that's to what Matt, and Stephanie mentioned earlier, where we're trying to get guidance from immigration lawyers and it's not clear. You know, so is that if the door's closed, if the door's open, if it's passing time, if it's class time, there unfortunately just is not a clear answer. And so I think our suggestion to friends is our best effort at identifying it as a private space, but we can't guarantee that that's gonna be honored, especially when we see the way that things have been unfolded. And but the immigration lawyers are not clear.
They're not. So maybe pressing charges will be clear. I mean, it's not it's not clearly illegal. But you saw that they were at Franklin, they were around Franklin schools. Which is that's the first news I've seen of them being out at a school. It's true. It's actually.
So the concept of them not allowed in the state with masks on, whatever the concept is, they're doing it, because they raided Carpinteria few weeks.
That was before. But they've,
Oh,
they've already said, the feds have already said they're not gonna follow.
Yeah, they're not, yeah, we can say whatever they want, but they were kidnapping people off of the streets in parking lots in Carpinteria on a daily basis. It's worse than you know if you're not around it. It's really bad down there. So they'll just keep moving. They'll be here.
Yeah.
We need to be ready.
That's one of the reasons why I've since bound back to having an alert put through the standard alert system that we have. Having something that actually says, you know, we are required to comply with does not necessarily mean that we endorse this. And so this is a way of just notifying everybody.
We have the alert use system on this campus.
Yes.
Yeah,
It flashes across all of our systems.
I would absolutely say that the alert you should be used in that. So, and it's the attorneys write the statement, but we have ICE and police activity on campus. If you are not comfortable coming to campus,
Don't
feel free to not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or if you're on
practically,
campus, leave.
I don't, sorry, I might cry.
Yeah.
To have our students come to campus not knowing that they're already here, that ICE would be on campus. I mean, that's a real disservice, to say that, you know, to put it mildly. Right? They should know. And who knows, maybe they're getting other alerts, but when we're talking about really caring for our students and we're talking about undocumented student month and all of this stuff, the least we can do is say, ICE is in this space where you belong. We work so hard to say you belong here. ICE is here, so if you choose not to come, that you are free to do so, don't worry.
I mean, at a minimum, you also just don't want rumors, so it's also
Yeah.
helpful to get something official. Yeah, because social media and things get inflated and then judiciously, because I don't know, a number of years ago, we got an alert you that there is an active shooter on campus and it turned out the guy did not have a gun and we were all locked down and panicking. So.
And he wasn't even on campus.
Yeah, he wasn't even really on campus, yeah. So, just for both reasons, but also to make sure that if we are sending out alerts, that they are accurate to the best degree that we can.
Because of the branching decisions that any person has to make in the moment. Stephanie and Matt's concerns about having a stop, drop and roll protocol for the faculty when it comes to these emergency situations, and they are emergencies. These are inordinate situations for which we do not have regular training. And thank goodness that we don't have to contend with this on a regular basis, but it's when we are in that gotcha moment, when this thing happens, that we need this sort of stop, drop, roll approach. Everyone, we need to have this conversation continue. This is obviously an important one to all of us. You know where I stand when it comes to trying to protect our students. Let's make sure to keep this in conversation here also at our other participatory governance group, because this concerns us. So, yes, to close.
I'd love to continue the conversation, but I mean, this could happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just curious what the administration's sort of timeline and sense of urgency around this is. Like, when do we have what this ask kind of in place? Is it this semester? Maybe?
We have to do it.
I don't know that we can answer that question right now. I think we need to take the requests that you all made today back and discuss them.
Back to where?
Easy to start the conversation.
The new immigration laws.
I can't, everybody in the state and the country must be having this or some kind of conversation around this, so it just seems like there must be other campuses that have developed a means of addressing this, right?
Most other campuses have very, very similar to what we have.
Is the chancellor's office passing anything down to us?
I don't know. All right, everyone, we are at 4:42. We have another big conversation that was also prompted by the string of public comments that we have. If I can draw your attention to item 8.02, this is regarding schedule building requirements and long-term planning as well. Everyone, part of what motivated this was widespread complaints about quotas being asked of instructional chairs to encourage more face-to-face enrollments. That conversation also spills over into concerns about the modalities in which we are offering education at a distance, for which, like, for example, hybrid, there is a very clear pedagogical component, late starts as well, and for which faculty should be able to weigh in, and for which the Academic Senate was not consulted. There are some concerns as well about this need to bring students back to face-to-face instruction. But because of the pedagogical concerns, because of the financial concerns, and because of enrollment access issues, it's the opinion of the Senate leadership that this is something that has to be discussed over a longer period, that there has to be some more concerted strategy around how we actually draw back to face-to-face. That is actually a cultural shift that we are seeing in our instruction following the pandemic. And we have made strides as well when it came to our online offerings too. And so those are concerns that we need to bring into discussion here. It is also a concern of ours to say, you know, can we clearly make an argument as the Senate that this is more than just a resource allocation issue? This is more than just a budgetary concern, and it's more than just room allocations. If we are going to frame this in terms of student success, looking at data that says this is the modality for which students happen to do best, is that not a faculty concern for which collegial consultation is required? And then there is also the matter of our scheduling work. We tried this for a year with volunteers from the Senate and also faculty chairs from other departments, particularly those who are responsible for being the first entry point for our students for first year English, first year math, ESL as well, where we brought this into conversation about how we could strategize around our request to be able to open up courses, particularly standby courses as well. So there is a lot to unpack here, as well as to follow up from our public comments. Does anyone want to contribute to the discussion here at this point? Laura, please.
Things that came up in public comment, and this is something that was brought up at the enrollment management session that was on Friday that Michael Mazzell put on. In accounting, and we're small and we're very easy scheduling. But one thing that we do, and it addresses the question that came up about late scheduling. So we schedule a intentional late class for our accounting 230 and 40. These are the big ones, English 110, where students need this to transfer. And what happens very commonly is when they're going to transfer, they go, oh shit, I forgot, I didn't realize I needed to take accounting 230. And now they're a couple of weeks before they're supposed to transfer, they're putting their things in. And what we realized is that it is important the second 8 weeks of the semester, because they can transfer without managerial. It's not advised, but they can. They cannot transfer without 230. So we put specifically scheduled back in April, a late start accounting 230, and it fills. And it's not most of the time. It's not, I mean, I'm talking like I could have 75 students if I was willing to grade that many discussions. And what it is, most of it is the oh shit and they're a late registration, but a lot of them kind of do the 8 week. So they'll try and do a 230 at the beginning and a 240. But my 230 is also like, I tried to do a full 16 week. I started and my life fell apart, or I have other things going on and they had to drop out of the 16, but they're like, I still need that 230 to transfer. So then they're looking, we even offer a 12 week. Sometimes they might go like they'll purposely choose a 12 week and that falls apart because life happens. So that 8 week is there to save them so that they don't have to put off their transferring for a whole nother year. So we schedule that very specifically. We also do where we start a 16 and we see, oop, it doesn't have the enrollment. Oh, we don't want to cancel it. Let's turn it from a 16 into a 14 or a 16 into a 12 to keep shifting it and seeing that hopefully that maybe we can get that enrollment. So we look at late start 2 different ways. Some of it is very intentional to capture a very specific group of students. And I think what we've learned, you can't do those kinds of classes in face-to-face. It is physically not possible. That's a 5-credit class. If I put them in an 8-week 5-credit class, they'd be here like 2 days a week all day long. I mean, it would be, it's not possible. So those have to be online. Yeah, that's 90 hours. I mean, it's intense. And it's not advisable. I mean, I tell them, like, I do a lot of alerts. This is a crazy class, but like, if you're there or you're one of those overachievers and this is how your brain works and you rather be fully intense on 2 classes at once as opposed to 4 classes for 16 weeks, like different brains work differently, right? So that's what we've done. And I mean, if you went and saw what Michael Liddell put out, we have really high enrollment numbers. We have really high fill rates. It's working. We do a face-to-face. We do every kind of modality that's offered for all of our big classes, like our main ones that kids need to check off to transfer. So I just want to throw that out there that that's what we're doing. And if you have questions, I'm more than happy to share our thoughts and feelings or why we do what we do.
Barbara, when do you open up those?
So, good question, and I'm glad you asked. Yes.
No more point,
Yeah.
I will reiterate.
So here's what we learned, and we learned it the hard way, and I got screwed, but it's cool. We don't do standby anymore. Standbys we found don't work for us because things change, life changes, numbers change, TLUs change, and we did it once, and then by the time it came time to try and open it up, the theory that we had is not what was accepted by administration, and we were told under no circumstances that we would offer it. And so we screwed kids because there were kids who needed that 8-week late start. We didn't offer it that semester. And it was the only time it's ever been done in the 7 years I've been here. So we just learned our lesson. We don't do standby because it's not to our benefit because the rules of the game change. So we schedule it. We schedule them as scheduled sections open. We count them towards our TLU. And we ask for them well in advance.
So the reason I bring that up is because, and again, it depends on the discipline.
Yes, absolutely.
But when we get our allocation, what we would like to do in our department is be able to open what we want to open for the reasons we want to open them, hold some in advance, whether so that we can make sure our full-timers make their load so that we don't have to open and then cancel part-time. We still have 25 part-timers.
Right.
We still have 25.
Right.
We don't teach reports.
Right.
And so there are reasons, strategic reasons why we want to do that, but we shouldn't be penalized. It's part of our allocation not to be able to open them later when we think it's the appropriate time to open them. We do see a difference between late start and short course. Sure. Short course is it's like we're planning it. I'm taking those 2 that see what that is. I want 11 in a row. We'll see if they really do that. But okay, But the late start is those students who get a few weeks in and go, oh dear God, what have I done? And I need to drop this, I need to add that, but if we open them in April, there won't be any room.
Sure.
So we would like that, our chair would like that flexibility in order to schedule in a way that would make the late start classes fit what works for us.
So I have a question for Maria. Is there anything in our rules, so like not using standby? We want an allocation, we have a class, exactly what you're saying. I don't want to open it today. I want to wait for 2 weeks, see what the fill does. I say, oh, we're filling, we're real full. We have it sitting there. It says closed on the schedule. We send an email to scheduling that says it's already part of our TLU count. So there's not a question of whether it's been accounted for TLU wise, but okay, let's open it now. And we do it at week 2 or week 4 to then build it and they will come, right? You funnel them in where you want them to funnel in. Is there anything wrong with doing that?
No, so long as there continues to be that demand, as you said, in this scenario, there would be demand. So the answer is no, it would not be problematic at all.
And it's already accounted in the TLU.
Our chair was asked to provide data proving that it was full and she spent her whole weekend on it.
On my understanding, well, you know, again, the specific scenarios, I think, need to be discussed with the specific department. When that's happened, just generally speaking, my understanding is that that is because it's a request of additional TOUs beyond the allocation. And that may very well be the case, and we would have to look into why that happened. However, generally speaking, if it's within the TLU scenario that you gave, no, it's not problematic at all. When it's above the allocation, that's a different scenario. So I don't recall the specific situation because shocking. There's a lot that I deal with. There's a lot that I deal with every single day. So
Department chair to provide data on a weekend, or to open a class for hours.
not if it's additional allocation, not if it's correct, but then we can discuss that separately. I don't think it's a Senate matter necessarily.
So I think the frustration here is that we have these guidelines that are written down and they are not followed. And so, and if you look at the standby guidelines, it says like, you are ultimately the one who decides whether a single section is open or closed. And no offense, but I really question whether that's an appropriate use of BP's word. Seems to me that if it's part of the allocation, you alert the dean that this is what you're doing and you get to open the class, because there has to be some trust and confidence in the expertise of the chairs and the deans. Otherwise, why have deans and chairs? Maria can just schedule the entire college. And I listened in on the webinar on Friday, and Michael, gave his explanation of how they schedule, which is how most of us schedule. And yet social science suddenly got hit with this demand for 50% face-to-face after the schedules were due, and it's become really aggressive and really adversarial. It's not following the policies, it's not following the process. And why do we even write things down if we're just gonna chuck them however we feel when someone gets a bug up their butt, and if faculty question it, we're suddenly harangued, and in some of these cases, quite abusive language from the dean to the faculty members. And it's inappropriate. It's creating a lot of turmoil that is completely unnecessary. And I don't know, I guess that's what I want to say. Like, what's the point of having guidelines if they are not being followed?
Am I allowed to speak at all?
No.
Oh, I'm not allowed to speak? Okay, so all your comments have been noted, okay? All the patently false information shared at this meeting today.
Okay, you're speaking and you're accusing me of something, so that's inappropriate.
This is a faculty forum. And if
you want to target, go for it.
I don't even know who you are, so.
Okay, let's lower the document.
Thank you,
Those are-
Maria. So following up on the online and face-to-face situation we're dealing with. After just having talked about the threat of ICE coming to campus. If we allow our students to learn online, we are protecting them from possible harassment or worse from ICE. The online format, in my opinion, really helps our non-traditional students become successful. I have students who are parents or who are suffering certain, I forget what it's called, rheumatology illness, and they do this online, but they can't necessarily in a face-to-face class. Or students who are working and taking care of sick family members or whatever. So this actually gives them, particularly single parents, the opportunity to be a successful student. And then finally, when I heard that there were state badged online classes that were canceled, I wanted to really cry because the amount of time and effort and energy it takes to get one of these classes badged, I barely made it through. And it took a lot. So to cancel something that's badged is really not.
There's a part of me that wants to say, we made a lot of strides to try to improve online education during the pandemic. I do not want to lose that momentum, not when it requires us to be able to do all of these efforts to try to improve online education, but we are also working against the level of education that they received online outside of the college too.
Right.
The improvement in online education to actually see the benefits of it takes years.
It's been years.
And so I think that needs to be a consideration. What Tomas Carrasco referred to was a paradigm shift when it comes to students' habits. One, we know that we can get a survey that says, I want in person, but what students will actually end up registering in, that's a wild card for some departments. That's also worth trying to examine as well. When it comes to late start courses, if I were to try to teach a 3-unit course on an 8-week schedule, if that was in person, that would require students to be on campus 6 hours a week. And ideally in the evenings, for which we don't have a whole lot of momentum to be able to do. We also have some concerns about some departments that were actually encouraged to go online because they could not meet productivity. Some of our music classes, for example, where they made incredible strides in offering music classes online. That was a measure to be able to improve their enrollments and their productivity. Why are we being asked to reverse that as well? Tara.
Just one point that I don't think has been clearly articulated as well. And I teach mostly in person, just so y'all know. Is that when we talk about student success and modality, it's a privilege. That's a privileged position to be able to say, I can take all my classes in person. And students may perform better in person, but doesn't mean they're able to do it. We are a community college. I just want to remind us of that. Our students come from an incredibly diverse background. They're facing incredibly diverse circumstances. And online may be the one modality they can fit into their schedule. So what we're going to do is turn them away. They are meant to be a transformational space.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, I said that in other venues before, and I said it in public comment today. I think this needs to have an intense discussion. Unfortunately, we do not have time today to have the discussion and to look at the data. I also, since we have the ASG, our ASG liaison here, I think actually we should ask the students and bring the students into this discussion as well. And I have not seen this bringing in the students before the 50% rule suddenly appeared from the nowhere. And that is why our chairs are also so upset that there was no discussion. We need to have this discussion to find out what is the best for our students and ask the students as well.
and a gradual draw into face-to-face so that we know this is working. Our faculty do not have any safe harbor if these sections do not meet. Our students served in terms of student success if they are asked to enroll somewhere else. Elizabeth.
There's a real long history of last minute cancellations of in-person classes, requests from the administration to have in-person classes. If anybody wants a list of dates, I can provide it. And I think I am very supportive of trying harder to restore an on-campus culture for the students for whom that is appropriate and the right choice. But in order to do that, there has to be a long-term commitment from the administration, one that respects faculty labor and one that protects faculty from last-minute planning and last-minute cancellations. And until the administration is willing to support those courses, even though in order to establish them, there will be a cost because it will take some time to establish them. Until that time, it is not fair to ask faculty to take on the burden of continually scheduling the classes and then canceling them. The work that it takes to plan an online class and then canceling it, and then the work to try, for face-to-face class and canceling it, and the work of converting classes between modalities.
Barbara, please.
To follow up on that, you're absolutely right, that we need, if we want to, and I teach all face-to-face as well, we want to meet that demand and that need, and it is there. And I'm speaking anecdotally, but every semester since COVID, I taught in the year after COVID, face-to-face, all face-to-face. I would always ask my students, as we went through the semesters, how many of you in addition to this class are taking an online class? A lot of hands went up. How many of you are taking that class by choice? At least half the hands would go down.
Right.
So I also think there are students who really would like face-to-face who aren't getting, so I mean, again, this is all anecdotal. I would like to see some surveys of maybe current classes of students now, maybe ESG can help us with this. But what has happened is if some classes, if they haven't met the exact right number of face-to-face, have been canceled, and that is a crime. And those students do end up in an online class that they didn't want to take. So I feel for those students as well who don't want to take online and they do want more face-to-face. What's the magic number? I don't know. They are there.
But that's why
They are
we
there.
need a plan to draw into.
Exactly. I agree 100% with that.
And also-
They are there.
And also, what determines whether or not a class is going to be canceled isn't just a dean decision. It isn't just a chair decision. Sometimes the students will proactively look at an under-enrolled class and say, it's not gonna make it.
Exactly.
Right. And so historically, they will make other decisions, even if it means they may go elsewhere. And that's a concern for us because this is a budget decision too. It's a concern that we have this advice that says we need to grow our numbers. We are very close to losing our middle college status, much less comfortable than I am on this one. So that's why we need faculty input on how to innovate around scheduling. I can see the value in bringing students back to campus. There is a critical mass of students that needs to be on campus so that students can see there is life here, so you can be connected. But the plan has to be one to which we draw into and not ignoring faculty expertise. Everyone, I need to draw your attention just to one more item. If I can borrow your time just for 8 minutes. This is something for which I did request an opportunity for the Senate to be able to weigh in. It's with regard to the schedule through the remains of the semester with regard to possible emergency hire proposals. Just wanted to run this by you. Again, this is only in draft mode. That's where the following dates have been suggested. I did take a look at where we were in the last fall when we went over this. For data requests, the Office of Academic and Student Affairs and the Office of Institutional Research and Planning will supply the data information for departments to include it with their request for a position. Deadline is Friday, October 17 by 4 p.m. So Friday, October 17. To complete the process, please submit the requested data form to the Office of Institutional Research and Planning. Every effort will be made to provide data no later than Friday, October 31st. And the proposal submission will be Friday, November 7 by 4 p.m. I went over how this dovetailed with the previous time, the previous semester when we looked at this. That leaves us with 2 weeks, just like, 2 meetings, excuse me, just like in fall 2024. To be able to hear any proposals, here at Senate and to be able to render a decision as to whether or not to move this forward. I think that this is a solid plan to roll this out. Just wanted to see if there was anything on your radar that would suggest, no, we need to consider other dates.
The final date was November 7th.
November 7th, yes.
7th.
So I believe that leaves us with 2 Senate meetings, just like fall 2024, to be able to hear proposals. We only had 1 at that time. I don't anticipate many more, unfortunately. But we have our emergency hire criteria. I went over this with the Senate leadership as well. Nothing's changed since.
They're moving.
No, but they're gonna put in for a full-time,
Oh, they are.
they'll put in for a full-time emergency, so there probably will be 2.
If you have any feedback, we do want to roll this out in a timely fashion, but I would suggest please contacting me, Tara, Elizabeth. If you have any concerns about the schedule, if you like, I can send a follow-up email just summarizing what the rollout of these dates are.
Yeah, please do.
Yes, please. I will make sure to do that.
As soon as you give me the green light, we can send that out as well. Thank you. Okay.
All right, everyone, we are beyond time here. Do we have a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
I second.
Meeting adjourned, everybody. Closing time.